order to address with the people, with the customers in certain environment. And in the same way, our strategies also define that how our organization is going to work, how our organization is going to deal, and what are the different strategies that is going to adopt in order to successfully operate in certain type of environment. Okay, here is again influences on organizational architecture. And then very important is that the management. First is the leadership and second is the management. Management is also important in terms of culture, in terms of structure and size, in terms of organizational architecture. So first, the leadership is the people who are actually dealing with the from the higher end to start or to actually control that particular organization. But then the roles and then the responsibilities divided in different managerial or management levels, that they have to understand that they are going to impact on that organizational architecture, and finally they are going to impact on the environment in which they are working. So for sure, management is also responsible for creating certain type of culture according to the environment, and in the same way culture also impacts the management, and management also impact on the organizational architecture, and management also impact on the structure and size of the particular organization. Now, what are the barriers to corporate entrepreneurship? There are different types of barriers to the corporate entrepreneurship. So what are different barriers to corporate entrepreneurship? Number one, focusing on efficiency or return on investment. That is very important. Obviously, any entrepreneurship venture is focusing on the efficiency, how efficient it is working, and what are the long-term or the short-term goals, and how they are achieving and how they are effectively performing in the market. And then the ultimate objective of any particular business is the return on investment. For example, if I am spending 1 rupee or 2 rupee or 3 rupee, what will be the return on that investment? So it is very important factor, because every business is obviously run for the profit earning, but in terms of entrepreneurship, it is not only the profit earning, but also playing some part in the society. But definitely it is a factor that return on investment or the profit earning is one of the main objectives. So focusing on efficiency or return on investment is very important for any entrepreneurship, and this is considered a barriers that they have to focus on efficiency or return on investment, then the planning for the long term, and then control against plans. So it is also a barrier that when you are doing some entrepreneurial venture managing, then you have to plan for long term, and then you have to control against every plan. For example, if you are planning for like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, so you have to make certain policies, you have to make some certain targets, you have to define certain goals in order to achieve those long-term policies, and then you have to control and then you have to control against each plan, because you have to achieve those targets and you have to achieve those goals. Then enforcing standard procedures, rules and regulations. So it is also very important that when you are going to define certain type of long-term objectives and strategies, then you have to enforce on your employees, on your management, and on your whole organization certain type of standard procedures, certain type of standard rules, and certain type of standard regulations in order to successfully achieve your objectives and achieve your goals. So it is very important. And then one is the avoiding risk. Avoiding risk is also very important, and you have to you have to think and you have to act accordingly in order to avoid certain type of risk. And then the making decision based on past experiences, it is also very important. For example, if you are dealing in some market and you learn from that market that by adopting certain type of strategy, by adopting certain type of approach, was good or bad decision for you in the past, then you are going to act accordingly now for making your new decisions, for defining your new decisions, because you have learned from your past experience that what type of strategies and what type of choices do you have to make in order to perform successfully, or what decisions or choices if you make will lead you towards the failure. So past experiences obviously makes you to learn and to and define you to act accordingly in the present. Then the managing functionality, so you have to manage all the functionality at all different levels. Then you have to promoting individuals who conform, so it is also a type of process that you have to do on the regular basis. Next is the barriers to corporate entrepreneurship. Again, the continuity. According to Morris 1998, there are certain systems, structures, and strategic direction, policies and procedures, people, culture, they are all the barriers to corporate entrepreneurship. Now, specifically, policies and procedures, strategic direction, your corporate structure, and the people and the culture and the systems, they all impact, they all play a role as a barriers, because you have to cope with that barriers to successfully go for the corporate entrepreneurship. Now what impact these have? Now you have to define certain type of policies and procedures that help you to successfully go for the corporate entrepreneurship, and they should not be a hindering factors or not be a barriers in your way in order to go for the corporate entrepreneurship. Instead, you have to come up with the policies that and procedures that encourage you to go for the successful corporate entrepreneurship. Then people are also impacting, and then culture, organizational culture, whether it's the environment culture, it is also impacting for the successful corporate entrepreneurship. You have to deal with these type of actors also, the like you have to deal with the people and the culture for the successful implementation of the corporate entrepreneurship. Now there are some barriers and their solutions. According to this chapter and the author, there are three type of basically approaches that can be used for that can be used as a solutions to all those barriers. First of all, ignore them. Second, work around them. Third, remove them. You can use all three or different types of barriers. Now, here he says that there are three type of approaches that that varies from organization to organization, and that varies from environment to environment, and that varies from different perspectives. So either you can adopt all three approaches, or you can adopt any of those approaches, or you can go for either two approaches, either three, either one. So that you will decide according to your type of business or your environment, or what you are actually thinking, or how you are defining your strategies. So first of all, ignore them. Like whatever is coming in your way, you should ignore them, and you just keep going. You just go with the flow as you are planned to do, and as you think that you can do. So it's one way to do your work, that keep doing your work the way you want to do, and ignore all the factors that are coming in your way. And the second is that work around them. Like you cope with those factors, you try to manage with those factors, and you try to deal with those barriers or those factors, and in that way you define your policies and you adopt your strategies that you have to do. You have to work with those barriers and how you can gradually resolve those issues, resolve those problems, and then the third one is the remove them. Now the third one is very important in a way that when you are going to select the removing barriers option, then you have to consider the factor that it is not an easy job to do. You have to have the capacity, the capability to make some bold decisions, because what you are going to do is quite demanding with the courage and with the strong strategic planning. So when you are going towards this approach, you have to deal individually with each of the barriers that is coming in your way for your successful implementations, and you have to deal with those barriers in a way that you have to remove those barriers as a barriers, and you have to make possible that these barriers comes your strength, and they are not some hindering factors that are coming in your way for the successful implementation of your corporate entrepreneurship. So this is how you have to deal. You have to understand that these are the solutions for the barriers coming in your way. Now, change and effectiveness. Change and effectiveness is divided into 3 stages. And then the change event is like, according to the time, it is short time change and effectiveness, and then the long time. And in the same way, the effectiveness is low and effectiveness is high. Now, how? First of all, immobilization and denial. It is coming in the low and short area. It is the stage 1. And if you are going for the short time and you are selecting for the high effectiveness, then you have to adopt that you are going to be getting used to the new circumstances, right? And if you go with the time in the medium range, and also you are considering that your effectiveness should be low, then you have to go for the letting go or the depression or the testing real. And then if you are going to the high effectiveness, then you are going for the relearning, how you are learning from certain type of change events, and then how you are going to effectively deal with them. And here, if you go for the long time and you are considering in stage 3 the effectiveness, then being effective is when you going for the effectiveness as high and the long time, then the becoming effective. And if again like low effectiveness and the long time is putting it together, and then the again from the first section is testing new reality. So this is how the change happens, and then how is the effectiveness with the passage of time comes. Now, preparing for change. First of all, providing a compelling reason for change. Make aims and tangible results of change clear. It is very important, because when you set your certain aims and you are talking about some tangible results, whether it's in terms of money or anything, then you have to make your change clear, that what are you trying to do and how you are trying to do. So it is your strategy, it is your management of certain type of change that should clearly define what are your aims and how you are going to get your tangible results. And then make information on changes freely available. Then get commitment from management, it is also very important, because if you and your management are not on the same page, then it is going to be difficult for you to deal with the different scenarios, and it is going to be difficult for you to get the desired results or achieve your aims. Do as much as possible, as quickly as possible. Don't change piecemeal. So this is also important. Why? Because what you have to achieve, you can only achieve if you are going to do it in a smooth way, and in a quick way, and in a possibility way, with some positive attitude, with some positive behavior, and you have to have the results as you have described them, as you have aimed them. Then the address cultural components of change. It is also very important, because the cultural components play an important role. So you have to address your cultural components of the change, and then you have to consult your staff on process of change. It is very important also. Why? Because your staff is the one who is going to tell you the process, because they are the ones who is dealing with the processes, and the processes of change with the consult of your staff is going to define for your success. Now, political and organizational actions for change. What are the political and organizational actions for change? Number one, decide who are the blockers and do something about them. Now here you have to define them, or you have to decide them. What are the blockers? Either they are some actors in terms of the culture, in terms of the people, in terms of some technology system, some economic factors, or whatever it is. You have to understand or decide who are the blockers coming in your way for your successful implementation, and then you have to do something about them in order to successfully perform your businesses. Then put change agents in key positions. So this is also very important, because whatever position you define, whatever roles against those positions you define, then you have to bring certain type of experienced agents, persons, people who can perform on those positions for your successful implementation. Then build political support for changes with stakeholders. So stakeholders are very important actors in the successful implementation of your corporate entrepreneurship venture or implementation. So you have to build the political support for changes. Like you have to make sure that you and they are on the same page when you are going for some entrepreneurial corporate entrepreneurship initiative. And also use task forces to push through implementation. Now, what does that mean? We are listening in news or on different platforms that this political government or that one is making different task forces in order to perform effectively, efficiently, different form of task assigned to them. In the same way, we have to do here, that we have to use task forces to push through implementation. Like we have already defined what and how we want to do. Now we have to arrange certain type of task forces, some people who can be responsible for certain type of strategically implementation, and they will perform their tasks accordingly. This way you have to divide your burden, your responsibilities on different group of people that can be experts in their areas, and they will be responsible for the successful implementation. And then number 5 is the make dramatic symbolic changes early on. This is very important, that whatever the symbolic or the dramatic changes you are going to do, you have to do as early as possible, because once you are taking timely measures and you have the backup plans and you have the have the command on what and how you are going to do according to the changing situations, then the chances of your success will be more. Number 6 is the begin on a small scale and demonstrate success quickly. It is very important that instead of going for the big initiatives, you have to begin with the small scales initiatives, and then you have to demonstrate success quickly. Like the small different initiatives with your success can demonstrate, describe how quickly you are going towards the success, and that will have a positive impact on the society, on the environment, on the people in which you are doing your initiatives or in which you are operating. Then number 7 is that remember to change relevant parts of structure. So there are always need that at some point, at some parts, you have to make changes on the structure. So remember that when, how, and what type of changes you are required to make at relevant parts of the structure. So you have to do effectively by changing them. And finally, the ultimate goal is the successful implementation of your corporate entrepreneurship ventures. And then monitor process and ensure change in is embedded. So it is also very important that you have to monitor all the processes and ensure that all the changes you want to do, or you are going to do, or you are implemented, are actually being embedded, are actually being done by the teams, by you. So these are some political and organizational actions for change, and they are given by Yukel in 2002. Okay, Yukel in 2002 also gave some people-oriented actions for change. What are people-oriented actions for change? Number 1 is the create sense of urgency. There are certain types of actions, there are certain types of uh, implement strategies or the implementations that you have to do on the urgent basis. So your people should be prepared mentally that they have to have the capacity or the tendency to implement certain type of strategies, or they have to mold them according to the urgency of the change. So if they have the sense of the urgency, then that will not be a big problem for you when you are going to go for a change, because they know that they have to make sure that this change is necessary, this change is on urgent basis, so they will definitely go for the change. And then brief people on effect of changes. Then you also have to take your people on your side, and you have to make sure that they believe what you are going to do, and then you have to brief your people that the effect of changes can be uh, on any side of the like they can be positive or the negative effects, but whenever these changes are required, people should know that they have to go for those changes, and what will be the effect of those changes, and what possible outcomes can come in response to those changes, and then help people deal with change. This is also the part of the second one, that not only brief people that what will be the effect of change, they also help people to deal, not only make them understand that what will be the effect of changes, but also help them deal with the changes. Why? Because when they will feel privileged, they will be standing on your side, they will be working in favor of you, no matter what will be the consequences in consequences of in the effectiveness of certain type of changes, they will be playing their part. Then number 4, keep people informed about changes as they progress. So this is also the same kind of the thing, that what will be the consequences, or what will be the progress when you are going towards those changes. You should inform your people about them, and they should mentally be prepared that what can be the consequences and what can be the factors and what can be the circumstances should be when they are going for certain type of changes, and how will they progress with them. And number 5 is the break changes down into small parts. Like, you can split your changes into small parts instead of do whole changes at one time at one place. You have to divide them into smart parts so that it will be easy for everyone to cope with those changes. In that way, they will not be affecting on larger scales to all the stakeholders, to all the people, but it will have little impacts in different spans of time and place. So it is also a good action for change that you break your changes down into small parts. Then number 6 is the empower staff top make changes themselves. It is very important that when you shift your power towards your staff, when you shift your control towards your staff, that means that you make them realize that they are important for your organization, and that means that you are believing in them, that they will be standing and they will be working for you, and they will be working as the family for your organization. So when this feeling comes for the people, their tendency to work for them is more efficient than the normal circumstances, and people or the employee or the staff feels empowered, and the shift of this control makes them to work effectively because they now understand that what their responsibility is and how they are going to perform in order to take decisions by themselves. Now, number 7 is demonstrate commitment to change from the top until project is complete. So this is also very important that you have to demonstrate what type of commitment and which level of commitment to the change from the top until project is complete needs to be made. So when this demonstration uh, is clear to everyone, then the process becomes more smooth, and until the project's completion, the commitment at all the level to the changes comes very efficient and effective. Now, what is the change cube? In the change cube, there is some concrete and the conceptual ways, and also the informal. According to Mitzberg in 1998, he proposed this change cube. And in this change cube, there are some factors that comes from the strategy, and then there are some factors that come from the organization. So what are the factors that come from the strategy, and what are the factors that come from organization? Strategy. In strategy, what we do, we define our vision, we define our positions, we define our programs, that what we are going to offer, that what we are going to actually do in our processes, and also how we are going to do, and finally what products are we going to offer. So this is whole doing whole going to come under the strategy. Like when we define our strategy in the long term or the short term way, then we have to consider certain type of actors. And then the organization, what are the organization is the culture, structure, systems, and people. Obviously these are all the actors for an organization, like culture of the organization, and then structure of the organization, and what are the systems the organization is going to implement. And then the people working in that organization are the people who are indirectly involved with those organizational. So it is the change cube. So on the right side here is the block in the formal organizational structure, and then when you go outside that cube, then it becomes informal position for the uh, for the organization and for defining your strategy. Now, what is the freedom? What is the difference between the freedom and the control? Here is freedom versus control. So there are some type of boundaries on one side, and then the space, and then the sport, and then the direction. Okay, now the adapted from Birkinshaw in 2003. This was a model given by Birkinshaw. Now, when the sport is too little and the space is too much, then the boundaries are too few and the directions are too little, and goings from too few to more, and low to much, and then little to too little, and then again too little to little on the center when we have different constraint. And at some level, like not going to the extremes, we if we operate on each and every factor, then this means that the company or the organization is dealing in a balanced situation. But if either we go for more freedom, if we go for more control, then it will become the position of some chaos or position of some uncertainty for the different actors of the organization. Like people, if you make more boundaries for them, then are too less boundaries for them, then it will also be a situation of chaos. Like everything on a moderate level creates a balance in an organization. So you have to make sure that whatever you perform, it should be in balance, so that all the situations comes in a control situation. But freedom in certain terms needs to be the part of different strategies. Why? Because too much control on your people makes them feel that they are not allowed to do their work according to their capabilities, according to their capacities. So a moderate situation, a balanced situation is very necessary. Otherwise, if you lose that balance, you are going to the situation of chaos. Now, here it comes the open book management. What is open book management? According to case 1997, free access to financial information, then continuously presenting information to the employees, train them to understand information, make them understand their job is improve financial results in whatever way they can, and then empower them to make decisions that do this, give them a stake in success or failure. So this is an open book management that you are going to discuss, you are going to show to your employees, to your people, in order to successfully perform on each and every level of your organization. It is very important that your people know that what are the strategies, what are the financial information of your country, what are the standing of the company, what are the standing of the organization, or what are the success and the failure situations for the company, and also empower them how they are going to make decision in order to successfully operating in the market. So they should also know what are the financial results are. So in that way, like in almost every company, you have seen that every company issues are published, their financial statement are the are their complete balance sheets each year, so that they can share them with their stakeholders and their employees and all the other bodies who are impacting in that organization, or that organization in particular is impacting on those bodies. So that if all the information, all the scenario is shared with everyone, that it will be more convenient for that particular organization to cope with the problem and to successfully implement their business activities. So that is why it is called that an open book management. Now, there are different types of organization structure and management styles. First, organic structure, and then the mechanistic structure. First of all, in the organic structure, are on the downside, we see entrepreneurial management styles, and in mechanistic structure, these are called the bureaucratic management styles. Like entrepreneurial management styles are different than bureaucratic management styles. Why? Because the conventional way of styling is bit different from the entrepreneurial management style. So what are the entrepreneurial management styles? That open, free flowing communication, allow different operating styles, then the authority based on expertise, and then free to adopt, to change, and then emphasis getting things done, and then lose and informal control, then behavior shaped by situation and personality, and then participative decision making. This is very important. When you are going for participative decision making, then you are going to assure that all the stakeholders are very important in your organization and you value them as your work family. But in bureaucratic management style, what is that? High structure and restricted communications, stresses in uniform operating styles, and then authority based on role and position, reluctance to change. They are not very open to change. They are not appreciating the change because they are avoiding to the risk. They are avoiding to go outside the box, and then they are emphasizes compliance with the processes and procedures, and they have tight control. Then they have behavioral constraints by job description, and then they have hierarchy decision makings. Like for example, in some decision, if the higher management is going to involve, then they make sure that only those people who are concerned with that particular type of decision making are going to be the part of that team or the decision making personnel. They don't appreciate others, whether they have the capacity or not to be involved in their decision making. Now, structure, style, and cycling. Here, pseudo entrepreneurial forms, and then effective entrepreneurial form, and then unstructured, unadventurous firm, and then effective bureaucratic firm. How we are going to define them? We are define them on the basis of their organizational structure, like if that is mechanistic or the organic, and then the management style, if it is bureaucratic management style or the entrepreneurial management style. Then there is risk classification, that the greater risks come, great risk, and then more risk, least risk, great risk, more risk, great risk again. And now how we are going to define that, where it is the greatest risk or the great risk? Because on the horizontal we take the likelihood, like if the likelihood is low and high, how is going to impact on different factors like controllability, and on the left side is the impact on the organization. If for example impact on the organization is low and the likelihood is low, then it is least risk. And if impact on the organization is low but the likelihood is high, then it is also more risk. And if the likelihood is low and impact on the organization is high, then it is more risk. And if both are high, then it is great risk. Then it is going beyond that, that is the again great risk and the greatest risk. So this is how risk classification is defined when you are talking about certain organizations, and it varies from certain perspectives. So here it is that high impact plus high likelihood plus low controllability is equal to greater risks. Now, what are the reactions to risk? First, attempt to eliminate risk. Your first and most important approach should be that you have to attempt to eliminate those risks. Second, attempt to reduce risk by increasing controls. So this is also a very important strategy, that if you cannot eliminate those risks, as at least you should attempt to reduce those risks by increasing controls. Like you have to take the charge, you have to take the controls over the situation, so that you can, if not possibly eliminate the risk, then at least you should reduce the risk. And number third is transfer the risk. Like if you cannot reduce the risk, then you should transfer the risk. Like you have to come up with some certain type of of strategies, that this should not be the risk for your company anymore, and you should transfer your risk either in the opportunity or in some kind of smooth working process. And then the accept the risk and monitor key risk indicators. So this is also an approach, that you should accept that risk and you should monitor all the factors, all the indicators of that risk, and you come up with the gradually strategizing according to the risks and as per the demand of the situation and as per the demand of your organizational behavior, how you are going to cope in the industry or in the society or in the environment. Thank you so much. Any question, you are welcome to ask. Okay. So now, any question from anyone you are going to ask, you can ask.
Okay, is there any question that's related to the entrepreneurship course? Maybe to all the participants, maybe Native, Obi, or Titi. Question.
Yang bertugas menghubungi moderator udah dibagi belum? Udah kan? Iya dong.
Ya pada saat question, maybe you can close the class.
I'm sorry, can you repeat please?
Maybe if there are no questions, maybe we can close the class.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. At the end of the session, I want to thank you, everyone, for this wonderful opportunity. I really enjoyed my time with you guys, and hopefully we will see each other in future. And this is for sure is a very good and very interactive session, and I got a chance to learn a lot from you as well. Not only I was acting as a teacher for you. So thank you so much from my side to all of you. You have been a very good students in the whole time, and I really appreciate your time and your commitment towards your learning. And I wish you all very successful future in your education, in your academia, and may you succeed and get very good jobs. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Hasan Siraj. Maybe on the next event, we will contact you again.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you
so much. I will end the meeting right now.
Okay.